When a regulatory inspector walks into a pharmaceutical manufacturing facility, they do not immediately ask to see the physical product. They ask to see the history of the data. In pharmaceutical manufacturing, a batch of medicine is defined as much by its chemical composition as by the documentation that proves how it was created. If that data record is flawed, the medicine is legally considered adulterated, regardless of its purity. Enforcement agencies like the Food and Drug Administration and the World Health Organization possess the absolute authority to shut down a production line if they find those records compromised. To prevent shutdowns, facilities rely on data integrity protocols as their primary firewall. When inspectors arrive, they test that firewall using a specific diagnostic framework known as ALCOA+, a set of rules demanding all records be attributable, legible, contemporaneous, original, and accurate. An audit is a forensic stress test of this framework. The inspector reviews the record history for any instance where human error has created a gap in the product's life cycle. The investigation usually starts on a lab bench, with an auditor opening physical batch records. Their first target is a discrepancy in time. A frequent violation is backdating. This occurs when an operator finishes a process, but waits until the end of their shift to fill out the logbook from memory, rather than logging the data as the event happens. This chart shows a physical process completing at 2 p.m., but the written entry is not logged until 6 p.m. That 4-hour gap destroys the contemporaneous and accurate pillars of ALCOA+, because the record no longer reflects the exact reality of the event. Auditors also encounter records where operators have attempted to hide mistakes using correction fluid or heavy scribbling over the original text. Hiding the initial error entirely voids the legible and original requirements of a legal document. An auditor cannot verify what was changed or why. The compliant way to fix a written error is strictly defined. Draw a single line through the incorrect value so it remains visible, write the correct number above it, and secure the change with a signature and the current date. Then there is the issue of orphaned results. An auditor might find a final passing test score on a worksheet, but discover that the raw data and printouts required to mathematically prove how that score was calculated are missing. These physical shortcuts systematically dismantle the accountability and robustness a facility needs to prove its drugs are safe for the market. After reviewing the paper trail, the auditor shifts their focus to the digital quality control systems managing the facility's data. Here, they look for generic login screens where an entire quality control team operates under a single shared username and password. Shared digital identities destroy the attributable requirement of the framework. If 10 people use the same login, it becomes impossible to hold any specific individual responsible for an action or an error in the system. This digital database interface illustrates a severe systemic flaw: disabled audit trails. Notice how the data changes from 10 to 15. Because the system fails to capture who made that modification and when, the database violates the accurate and attributable rules simultaneously. An incomplete audit trail severely impacts the overarching integrity principle of ALCOA+. Without a reliable history of digital actions, the auditor is forced to question the stability of the entire IT infrastructure. To an FDA inspector, a digital system that cannot autonomously track its own history is legally equivalent to a forged paper document. Ultimately, these data failures threaten the safety of the patient taking the final medication. However, the flaws an auditor uncovers are preventable human behavioral errors, not inevitable industrial accidents. Facilities close these gaps by enforcing strict standard operating procedures and mandating good documentation practices training for all new hires before they touch a batch record. For deeper systemic issues, teams deploy CAPA, corrective and preventative actions. This operational framework allows managers to permanently diagnose and eliminate the root causes of procedural errors, rather than just patching them. Reliable data is the byproduct of consistent habits and a system designed to detect its own failures. By prioritizing the accuracy of the record as much as the chemical yield, a facility builds a culture of transparency that protects the patient and the